Welcome everyone to Meet and Greet Access. Dave Danielson with you again, and we are honored to be with Malcolm and Jackie, the owners of RibShack Smokehouse in Omaha, Nebraska. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's our honor, and just so honored. My wife Gianna and I just had such a great time meeting you guys the other day during our first time to your restaurant. The food, by the way, people who are listening to this, please check it out. It is amazing. Some of the best barbecue that you'll have anywhere. RibShack Smokehouse in Omaha. So I wanted to just dive in and ask you guys about the background for the restaurant. How did it come about? What would you like to share?
Well, we used to have two restaurants in St. Louis called RibShack. And that's when we first got into the business, and we started the business for our son. We pretty much depleted all our savings, sold our. We're in my background originally was insurance. He was plumber, and it had been a lifelong dream to have a restaurant for the family, and everything we did, we tried to do it to make sure that for our kids. And we wanted the plumbing. We had another other son. He was going to be learning that, and then our son that just passed in January. That was going to be his thing. Well, we thought so, But kids have their own journeys and things that they want to do. But we got into the business. In 2009, my husband's mentor, which is like a godfather to him, Jerry Brown, which is one of the legends in St. Louis. He had over 30 plus restaurants and nightclubs, and just did a lot of historical things in the city and the movement. And we came under his wing, and he taught us the barbecue, the restaurant business. He started out with it. Sadly, in the midst of us in business, he passed away. So we pretty much we started learning a lot of stuff hands-on ourselves. We got a lot of the beginning pieces from him, to get started, the platform of actually the ideal restaurant, of putting the right, positioning the right people in place, the cooks, the chefs, creating the menu, all these things. We really had a winning team in St. Louis, and that's where we got started. St. Louis, Missouri. Very proud of what we did. We did a lot of great things. Not just we had great food. Everybody loved the food, but we were very, very impactful in the community. That was I say we were a restaurant advocate, in some sense, because we were really heavily involved, from sending kids to Costa Rica when they couldn't afford to go. They were doing this high school Vaishon. They were doing a study, and they were studying stem cells, and we helped send them to Costa Rica. Sent kids that couldn't afford, to go on different trips with their team. We would host a lot of fundraisers. We did multiple, and the one that I'm really proud of is we did hashtag lunch bag, where we fed the homeless once a month, over 1,000 people. We fed and gave toiletries, and really, and not just feeding, we gave jobs to some of them. So, we made a lot of great impactment. And even when Malcolm had his heart issues, we even used that platform to raise awareness on being a donor.
But here's one thing she's left out. When Mike Brown died, how he got killed and all that went on, we fed everybody. We fed Jesse James, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, over 3,000 people for free.
Wow.
Yeah. We did all that.
Yeah, we did a lot. So we were very involved, and business was thriving until Malcolm got sick. Yeah.
I had a brain bleed October 3rd of 2016. Changed my life forever. Changed it forever. At that time, we had 2 stores. We had one on Natural Bridge in Hanley, and one downtown right across the street from the Dome, Ford Field. We were doing great. I had a brain bleed. It changed my life forever. I was in a coma, and everything had to be on her. Coming back and forth to the hospital to see me. I didn't like the fact that she had to decide between going to 2 stores or coming to see me in the hospital. I didn't like that. I didn't like that fact. So we decided to close both stores down. It was too much for my wife to be dealing with, coming to see me or going to the hospital. Or my youngest daughter, at that time she was about 12 years old, and she wanted to go to cheerleading practice. So she got to decide whether to go to the stores, go to cheerleading practice, or go to the hospital and see her husband. That's a lot. I thought it was too much for my wife. I thought it was too much pressure.
Yeah.
So I said, close the stores down. We'll get rid of that part.
Yeah. So then what happened from there? I mean, I know that,
Brain bleeds, 4 more strokes.
Yeah, because he had an LVAD. So LVAD is a left ventricle device. It is a lot of people, cardiologists and doctors, they use it it could be used as a bridge to transplant, or it could be used as a destination. Malcolm's was used for a bridge to transplant. But during that time, Malcolm, being a typical man, at first I didn't understand he couldn't really wrap it around that he was sick and he had to take medicine, so he kind of went to denial. And I would call it a midlife crisis, where he just started acting out a little bit, which in the end it hurt him and it got worse and worse until he had the brain bleeding stroke, till he ended up having was in
Basically,
coma 30
I was trying
days.
to kill myself. I was trying to, for some reason in my mind, when they told me I had COHPD, what do they call it?
With the congestive heart failure.
Congestive heart failure. When they tell me that, I thought that meant I was gonna die. And I started drinking and doing everything, try to hurry up and die. So that was the point of me drinking and doing all the things I was doing.
Taking medicines, and it was hard for me because I was on top of being a wife, I was the caregiver, so having to make sure he took his medicines, and because even the transplant, any surgery is serious when they open you up, but heart transplant where they open you up, and so I took those type of things really serious, and so he wasn't, and I couldn't understand, like, what did you could you got to do right so you can get to the point of making it to the heart, and all that stuff. But
meanwhile, I'm thinking I'm dying anyway, so I might as well just go ahead and enjoy myself, have some fun today, and
so
get prepared.
It was a lot, but we had to say the praise report was, after all that and the journey we went through, once Malcolm did go through that part of having a brain bleeding stroke, he woke out of his stroke. He had vertigo. Took him about 2 years to get his mobility back and his strength to a certain level. Still waiting all the way though.
Now during this process of me regaining my strength back, I get on the phone. They got these LVAD groups they're on Facebook, and I got in one of those groups, and I asked them, how do you get I asked each person, how do you get a transplant? How do you get this and how do you get this? But all that conversation led up to contacting UNOS. It's out there in D.C. It's the world headquarters of transplant. So I contacted them. I talked to her name. Her name is Barb. I talked to her directly. And I said, Barb, what can I do? Where should I go to get a heart transplant? And she said, Malcolm, I can't tell you where to go, but all I can tell you is the average waiting time. That's all I can tell you. So I said, I picked 4 places that I can go. I picked one out in Mayo Clinic up in Rochester. They told me 2.5 years there. So I was trying to get my insurance to go there. Then I in St. Louis where I was at, they told me 2 more years from there, which I already been there 6 years. But now I got 2 more years, and they got to put you back on the list. Then I was thinking you start over, but I was wrong about that part. But anyways, they put you back on the list, and you start over 2 years, and then I called Oklahoma City. That's where my auntie lived at. My aunt Joanne, she lived out there, and I'm thinking I can go to stay at her house. And they told me 2 years there. But then I called, my dad is from Omaha, Nebraska, and they said 6 months. Now, where would you go? Where would anybody go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I came to Omaha, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. That's how he got here.
That's how I got here.
Yep. And at that time when he came, it was like, wait a minute, you just because he
Now
just
listen,
got back.
Now listen now. I just had a brain bleed. I had 3 or 4 strokes. I'm off the transplant list.
Well, you're not off. He's deactivated.
Well,
Might as well say you're off. In
off.
some sense, you're at the bottom of the list. When
So-
you're on the list, but you kind of at the bottom.
So I'm
they're
telling
not
my
gonna
wife,
call you.
I'm going to Omaha, Nebraska. Going to Omaha, Nebraska, she tells me, "Is you nuts? You going to Omaha? Yeah, I'm not going to Omaha with you." This is my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't understand it. Why, Malcolm? They're about to put you back on the list. Why are you going to leave?
Mm-hmm.
And I just had in my mind
Plus-
that if I get to Omaha, I'll get me a heart. I had it in my mind.
Yeah, because I was thinking like having to start all over. Because you have to literally, once you get outside that region, like if he would have said he was going to Kansas City, Missouri, he would have stayed in that region. So of the transplant world, so he wouldn't have to start the whole process over again. But coming to Nebraska, he stepped outside the region, so that meant he had to
Start the whole process
everything
all
from
over.
A to Z. They check you from your eyes, your nose, your
The whole process.
lips. They check everything. They check your background, your financials, everything.
Now at this time, my heart, they call it your ejection fraction. My ejection fraction at this time was 7%.
So it had gotten worse.
So for me to drive to Omaha, I drove with my son brought me here, and
Yeah. So he was
Man.
in worse condition because he had just had all those strokes, brain bleed. So it was really like a risk. But now reflecting back, I say it was a faith move because you stepping out on faith and you really trust in God. You don't know what's gonna happen at the end, but you stepped out on faith, and
so during this
Okay.
process of me leaving St. Louis, I tell my wife, I say, this is in November 17. Tell my wife, because first of all, the insurance people come into the hospital and they tell me, Malcolm, the amount of insurance that you have, you can't have that and you need a heart transplant. So what I should have did is tell the man to get out of the room and we went to court. But what I did is I got upset and said, man, give me the paper. I'll sign the paper. Get the hell out of here. Don't come back no more. Because my mindset was trying to get focused on living. But meanwhile, every doctor that I'm seeing is telling me, you're dying. Get prepared to die. So it's kind of like 50-50, which way you want to go, which way. So I tell my wife, I say, wife, I love you. Take all the little stuff I got, gather that stuff up, all of it, all the equipment, sell it all, and go start your new life. Because I'm going to die anyway, because this is what they're telling me. They're completely telling me this. All the doctors, everybody telling me I'm dying. So I'm telling my wife, go ahead and start your new life. Because I know my wife don't have to prove to me. I know she loves me. It's no doubt. She don't have to come over here and watch me die to prove to me she loves me. I know better. I know she loves me. So that was the decision I made. I'm not proud of that decision at this point, but I'm glad I made that decision at this point so I can get a heart. But that was a decision I made, and I left her at that particular time.
It had to be hard.
Very hard. Mm-hmm.
So, kind of, how did the heart transplant go, and how was it?
I ended up living down here on the campus at UMC Hospital for 2 years in a trailer.
Right across the street from the hospital.
And if you got a Circle Drive right there, Circle Drive, You go to that Circle Drive and you look right to your right. I'm parked right there. And they did a big fundraiser. This is what.
But tell them how the heart training you going through. Let's back up. So he so we had just came and seen him. We were just here for Father's Day. We had seen him, and so that time I remember when the world it was shut down and they started opening back up a little bit. So
Mr.
at that
Trump
time,
stopped the government. You remember that? Mr. Trump stopped the government.
I was. At this time I was in Birmingham, so I was on a job assignment. I was working in Atlanta, but I lived in Birmingham, and our youngest daughter was there. So when the world came back open, we had been traveling. We started traveling to see family because we hadn't seen nobody.
The 4th of July right there.
Yeah,
right there.
We left, went to St. Louis. Then from St. Louis, we stayed in St. Louis for a few weeks. Then we went to come see Malcolm, stayed with him for about a week, and then went back to St. Louis. And on our way back, first he was trying to he knew we were not that far, he was trying to get us to come back. I was like, well, we'll be back. And he was like, come on. And I was like, we'll be back. And so I didn't come. I got on the highway, traveling back to Birmingham. We had been talking that day. He would have to go get his blood drawn to make sure his iron levels were right, and making sure that everything was okay, because he had 2 PIC lines in his I call him a walking hospital, because he had PIC lines and like an IV type thing.
LVAD in the
stomach, 2 PIC lines, so it was a walking hospital.
And with the 5% ejection fraction from your heart.
Yeah, it had dropped that down to 5%. So he had thought he had seen the surgeon, because he had got pretty much behind living by the campus. He would come routinely like he's supposed to. He started complying when he got here, because he wasn't doing everything in St. Louis, but he started complying and doing. So I was proud of him doing that. And he had thought he'd seen the surgeon, Dr. Young, great surgeon, and that does his transplant. Great. He is. I think he is. Is he Japanese or? Yeah, he's great surgeon. But anyways, he thought he'd seen him on the campus, because they were amazed. He had this start, in the transplant, to overdo that type of surgery. It's kind of catch-22. You got to be sick enough to get a heart, but well enough to sustain that type of surgery, because the surgery was about 12 hours, and you had to be, your body has to be strong. So he started doing this walk, and they were so amazed, because I did the walk while he was in the hospital, and I couldn't even catch my wind. We had to take you out for this walk one day, but it's a trail that he did, and he went down the steps every day, up the steps. He did it about 4 or 5 times a day, and it was amazing, because of his pump of how his blood was. They were so amazed by it, that he was walking like that. But anyways, he was walking this particular day that we were on the phone. He had just left his appointment, and he thought he'd seen the doctor, and the doctor didn't acknowledge him or say hi or anything. So he called, and he was really, he had his, during the whole journey, he had his up and down moments that he wanted to give up. And, it's kind of a normal thing. Anybody you think you don't know, you in these groups, you seeing a lot of people getting hearts, and then you hearing people die, and it was like, it's just, you're seeing, you're on the floor with hospital patients, you're seeing people, the little red thing come on, and lights come on, and people are, coding, and you're like, man, it's kind of hard.
I've seen a lot of people die.
Yeah, to keep being encouraged to go on,
Between St. Louis Hospital and right here in Nebraska, I've seen a lot of people die.
So
waiting on the heart
at
transplant.
this point, he was like, I'm about to give up. I'm finna come to Birmingham with you all, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't think I'm getting a heart. And then on top of that, the riots, I don't know if y'all remember the young boy that got killed here, and it was rioting going on, and so it was just so many things.
They were walking down Dodge Street, picketing for a kid that got killed downtown.
Yeah,
there.
so it was so many different things on
Yes.
top of. The world had opened back up, but it still was, COVID was still in the middle of it, so it was just a lot. And
I'm on the phone with her.
and I'm like, no, Malcolm, you need to stay. You waited this
On the phone.
long.
I said, hold on, Jackie. Let me click over here. Somebody
Yeah.
called. I don't know who this is. Hold on, let me see who this is. I clicked over.
It was the hospital.
It was the hospital.
Call, and I had made it. I had touched down to Birmingham. And I had just drove home, and he got the call.
And but one part we forgot.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked her like about a week before this. I called her. I said, hey, Jackie, if they ever give me a heart, are you going to come back? What'd you say?
I said, nope, I'm not coming back. I told him I'm not. But I was coming. I already planned on. It was always in my heart. Like, if he got that call, I was going to be there.
Well, I called her and asked.
But
He
yeah,
said,
but when he got that call, we were crying and screaming, and I had kept driving around in circles. It was like, man, it was like all our prayer warriors and everything. And so I turned around, slept for a few hours, and me and my daughter turned around, got back on the road, and drove 14 hours from Birmingham to Omaha. And
when she drove here, when she got here, she couldn't even come in the hospital and see me because guess what's going on? COVID.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even come see me.
Mm-hmm. So that was a lot.
But we got another part about that. But before that part, this guy, this
Well,
guy.
no, that wasn't before that. That wasn't before that.
Okay,
That's
well,
all the.
okay,
That's
what?
so. Cause you was in the hospital. You don't
I'm in the
remember.
hospital,
You don't
yes.
remember. Let me tell this part. You was
Yes.
in the hospital.
Okay.
So yeah. So we I came and I wasn't really able to see him. Only came and was able to see him for training because I had to be responsible for taking care of him after he was released home. So I had to go through training. So they only allow you like 2 or 3 days. So I was able to squeeze in a little time to see him and seeing and he, you know, he was doing good. We had one time where he left us, but he came back and everything was great. So
She's talking about like how I died. What you talking about, right?
Mm-hmm,
Talking about like when
yeah.
when I actually coded out.
Mm-hmm.
That happened twice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It happened twice when I was in there getting
Yeah.
a transplant.
Yeah, but God, he made it through, and during that time, the surgeon had to say that we had to make this our residence. You know, he was here, but he couldn't go back into the RV because it was not safe for him even though it was a nice RV, but for a transplant, sanitary ties wise, it wasn't gonna be, you know, up to code for a transplant patient because you gotta stay away from like germs. Anything can cause you to have a rejection.
He said he wasn't gonna put a heart transplant in me, and I go back to the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So now listen, you got 2 people getting a heart transplant, but neither one of us got a job. Neither one of us got no money.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to get a heart, and we got to have a place to live at.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. calls her up and tells her, where's Malcolm going to go when I put this heart in him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. I never had a surgeon call me in my life. I'm like, what? You know, but he was only for safety for Malcolm because they take the transplant, which I would too, seriously. You want it to be a success, you know, story, you know, and you don't want no rejection because of your living or arrangements and certain things like that. So he said, I told him, he'll have a place. At that time,
Don't have a dime in her
didn't
pocket.
have no money or nothing. Didn't have, because I hadn't been working.
Mm-hmm.
And but God made a way, and we started doing fundraisers. All those seeds, all those stories I've told you about the things we did, I say they came back.
The furniture project. We got to mention the furniture project.
Yeah, they
furniture
were blessed. They blessed us with
Dirk Brown. I mean, what's his name? Dirk.
No.
What's his name? Dirk something. Dirk. Wherever his name from, he's a fireman. He helped us out tremendously. He blessed our whole house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got all the bedding, the couches, everything in the house. He blessed us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have nothing.
Yeah, we didn't have nothing. We
have
started
nothing.
from way from the bottom. Yeah, all over again.
Yes.
And even with the restaurant, God bless with that. You know, God bless.
That's what I was getting to. That's what I was getting to. How do we end up on Q Street?
Yeah, but let me tell, because you was in the hospital.
Okay, well, come on. Yeah, let's get to that point.
But yeah, so that's how we got here. We connected with we had some family here and friends, and they was really advocate, which Miss Brenda, she was like, she actually has a they call it care builders, but they were really a significant impact in caring for Malcolm. Even when I was coming up here working, and I'm like a big advocate on the care of a person is major when going through these type of life changing surgeries and different things. Having the proper care, having somebody make sure you taking your your medicines and doing everything correctly.
So when your heart is at 5%, you don't feel like getting up, fixing breakfast or dinner or lunch. You just don't. The energy, it's just not in you.
Yeah.
You don't have it.
But she used to
Brenda,
have a
care builder did that.
She was owner of a restaurant next door. They originally was trying to get us next door to a restaurant show. She was she had some involvement in the restaurant and stuff next door, but the owner, one of the owners, he was like, I wouldn't be a good person if I didn't let you know that a few doors down, it's a, he knew we had a brand, that it's another restaurant, and that you might, I'll connect you with the landlord, and he connected us with the landlord, and the rest is history. And the landlord, he was like, Malcolm, I can't help him with everything, with getting this, with the healing of his heart and getting his heart, but I can definitely, help with trying to provide you a restaurant to, take care of him and to be here, because I didn't have any income. So he, almost the first 6 months, we didn't have to pay any rent. He brought us up to code, compliance, all this. Malcolm was in the hospital, and then he transferred from the hospital and came home, and I was coming up here every day working, cleaning. I had met a couple people that helped me, just people I didn't even know, just blessings because I'm not, I visited Omaha I've been here, I was here about 20 years ago, we actually stayed for a little bit, but I didn't know anybody here. That was 20 some years ago, and so just meeting all these different people, just strangers coming to volunteer to help. Even once we got open, we couldn't, we didn't have the traditional startup capital, so I couldn't afford to hire anybody. And people, different business owners that were into the restaurant business, some of them weren't even in restaurant business, but some of them came to help, and that was truly a blessing, because Malcolm couldn't help me when we opened. He caught COVID, so he had to stay away. He had to stay away for like 6 months, and I had to idle myself away from him and my daughter. So that was tough. I was
to take care of me, and I got COVID. If you supposed to take care of me, can't do it.
Yeah, I was away, and I had to do all this a lot by myself. The first 6 months in business, it was tough, but it was one of the toughest times. But we made it through. We celebrated our year. Sadly, in the middle of that, we lost our son, and that made it, more challenging for us, because we already had a lot of hurdles we had to overcome, from someone's taking our signs, from
hacked our Facebook page.
Yeah, so we had a lot of hurdles to overcome, but the most impactful one was losing our son. Didn't know what we was gonna do. We got the text on January 15th from his best friend that he was in an accident, not even that he was dead. We didn't even know. And so we calling, trying to find out where he was, call the hospitals, because he was in Illinois, and he lived in St. Louis on the Missouri side, but he was in Illinois on the East St. Louis on the Illinois side, going from Omaha to Council Bluff, the divided river that divides you guys. We had went down there, and we found out that he was killed, and that was like the worst thing ever. You never would expect, you looking around for a kid in the hospital thinking he was in an accident, where is he? Nobody, they don't have him. But what? You don't have him? To find out, that he was killed, and that was like a nightmare. He's still plays in my head. Some it's just like you try to, you know. But the worst piece is we haven't gotten any, no autopsy, death certificate. We haven't gotten anything to actually know what happened. You know.
January 15th, February 15th, March 15th, and it's April.
Mhm.
What is it? April 11th or 12th?
Mhm. About to
Still
be
nothing.
3 months. Still nothing. And that's the hardest piece. And we had coming here. We had to start all over. We had to throw everything away. We wasn't going to even open because on top of grieving, we're trying to figure out, okay, what we gonna do about the restaurant? We don't got no money. How we gonna get this going? And you know, and God just told me start, you know, letting the community know that hey, we here, we back open, and started a fundraiser. And that's how we did the reopen to stay open fundraiser. And we got to the point that we were able to reopen, but to stay open, we need the community to stay open. We need the community support. You know, we still ain't all the way back to, you know, where we need to be to stay open. Like we're still in the red zone. Any day, any hour, we could. It's a restaurant up the street about to close. We could be them. We could be closing too. You know, so. And so we just been trying to do what we can and not just try to be, we always been proactive people. So we doing everything we possibly can, doing catering for our calls. People can help us by catering. We got, my cousin has a print company in Cincinnati. He donated a bunch of t-shirts for us to sell to help so they can buy t-shirts for $25. We have it online and in the store. They can make a donation through GoFundMe or just coming in and supporting us by buying food, tasting our delicious food, which it is delicious. So I can be proud to say that honestly that it is. But so it's been a long journey, and I feel like telling our story. We always was telling our story. We got an added piece now with losing our son, and you know, just telling people, you know, our story, and hopefully inspiring people to keep going, because we all are going through stuff. We not, you know, so many people I connect with, like we connected with you all. We connect with so many different customers, and I'm connected with one customer that had lost her son, Miss Kathy, and so many people that have that I say God sends our way. You know, it's not, you know, by mistake that we met you. It's not a mistake that we met, you know, different people that we end up meeting. It's like, you know, it's a reason, you know, like I believe in that, and it, you know, it helps us out by meeting good people and being able to talk and release a lot of stuff versus keeping it inside of us. If we were at home and we would be keeping, you know, a lot of the pain and different things we have been experiencing with losing our son, we kept it inside of us, I think that would make us, you know, it would not be good, make us, you know, sick, and, you know, just, but releasing it helps. It's like therapy, you know, just kind of getting it off your chest and like talking about it. Kind of feels strange when you like having a conversation like lost your son, you know. It feels still awkward to say out your, like it still is like a disbelief, but it does help like getting it off your chest. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you guys have had to go through that, and here you are, both of you together, and I can, you know, Jana and I have talked how you guys have a great bond. Could you describe what that's like, being able to share this chapter, working together here
Let me
now?
tell you what the biggest thing is that and she has her opinion, and I don't want to share mine. I mean, we both wanted to share yours too. But first thing I realized since we came back together, we're dealing with our daughter. My daughter, and, you know, I'm happy to get the heart, very, very happy to get the heart. But once you get the heart transplant and you move your child, you know, she's 17 now and she's 18 now.
18.
And she moved into a new school district, a new
state.
When she's walking in the school, she's wearing a mask. She don't know nobody in this school. She moved from Atlanta, and she moved to Omaha, Nebraska.
Or from Birmingham.
From Birmingham. All of it is the same thing. Atlanta, both of them is full of black people, and she happened to move to Omaha, Nebraska. And it's not...
Culture shock.
It's a pure culture shock to her. She don't know. And she's very suicidal. And one thing I realized that me and my wife did is we came together to solve this problem. You know, it was hard dealing with my daughter because she was on the verge of, she thought it was the worst thing in the world. She's happy her dad got a heart. But at the same time, she ain't happy because she's in Omaha, Nebraska. You changed my life forever. You know, one point, you know, we were doing $3-4 million a year in St. Louis. So she's dreaming. She had big dreams. And
Her
now,
life changed,
I
like,
changed
totally
the stores
now we don't
overnight.
have any money and
I closed them down and ain't no money no more. So it affected her more. It affected me too, but it affected her more. And kind of like vice versa. Both of us is dealing with it, and we are dealing with her suicidal thoughts that she's done overcame because my sister reached out. We had a bunch of people just, it seemed like the whole, like my whole family's coming together because my son passed, and like all of a sudden now we got a group chat that we all communicate in, and we're all talking more. And we're all dealing with her thoughts and her. We're happy to have a heart, but it's a lot to come with a heart. It's a lot to come with a heart. All the emotions that go along with it, not just inside of me, inside the family members, all around me. I mean, they all are dealing with different things that if I was doing well, I'll be able to help them through this. But
like we normally used to.
Yeah,
do.
like normally used to.
Everybody used to us. We were the ones that we always helped, which that's what we felt like. You know, that was part of our responsibility as as a business owner, on top of helping family, helping community. It's not just about us, you know, like we didn't get, even now, I mean, we can't do a lot like we used to financially, but we feel like the platform of the restaurant is not just about Malcolm and Jackie. You know, hopefully telling our story helps somebody else, you know, just people hearing, they come through the doors and they hear our story, they hear our testimony. You know, you never know what nobody's going through. You know, people be on the verge of anything, you know, and you never know. Or in the information we have, like the knowledge of the restaurant business and the knowledge of both sides of the LVAD piece and the transplant world of giving back to help people, you know, and help them navigate so they won't have to make some of the same mistakes we did, you know. And that's where I feel like that's what God has us, you know, here for, and for us working together.
Again, Malcolm and Jackie, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to you, and congratulations for the impact you're having on the Omaha community with RibShack Smokehouse. We're honored to tell your story.
Thank
so
you.
much
Thanks for
having
having
us,
us.
and thanks for sharing our story.
You bet. And we will check in with you guys later, okay?
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
You bet.